My dear friends, would you all please be seated? Once again, my friends, I'm going to ask all those carrying a cell phone or electronic device, would please place them in the off or silent mode at this time. We thank you in advance for your cooperation with us today. With heavy hearts today we gather to not only mourn, but to honor David Pesach ben Nehemiah, our friend, our teacher, our mentor, David Luria. I was chatting with someone before the service began today, and we said to each other, you either loved David Luria or you never met him. He was like that. Whether he was part of your life for many years or came into life more recently or somewhere in between, he just had a way of forming a relationship with you that meant something and will continue to mean something long after the burial service has been concluded. I'd like to invite forward at this time Rabbi David Kirshner and Rabbi Gabe Cohn from Temple Emmanuel in Closter, New Jersey, who will lead us in the recitation of Tehillim, of Psalms.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank my colleague and my dear friend, Rabbi Arthur Weiner, for his graciousness and collegiality always. I wish it were for a different reason than this, and I want to extend my condolences to the family, the Luria family, the Glazer family. David was an incredibly special soul. He could dote on you without being obnoxious. He could be sweet without being saccharine. He had an uncanny ability to show reverence and love and respect to rabbis while at the very same time treating us as common folk so that we felt equal, loved, and special. I know that Rabbi Cohen and Rabbi Weiner shared that blessing with him as well as I did. And he always started off every interaction with asking about the good wishes and well-being of every family member for each individual family. Rabbi Cohen and I were blessed to see him on Thursday before he left this world, and he was going in and out of sleeping. When he opened up his eyes, he saw Rabbi Cohen. First words he said was, "How is Deb?" Rabbi Cohen's wife. That was his instinct. That was his reflex. That was the way he was wired. And while indeed it is an incredibly sad day for this world, what an incredible blessing we all had to have had him for 92 years, and for all of you to be able to have called him yours. I offer this psalm in his memory. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echzar bino deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot shenan leini nashav yishovev yamchein v'makli tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech b'geitz mavet lo irara ki atay madi shivtecha mishantecha hemi yenachamuni. Taroch lefane shochan neged soraidi shanta v'shem en roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yudefuni kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai la'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God leads me beside the still waters, and God restores my spirit, for that is God's name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, because God is with me. God's rod and God's staff comfort me now and at all times. And even if you prepare a table in front of me and in front of my enemies, I know that my head is anointed with oil, that goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of God forever. Amen. May David's memory always be a blessing.
Shir Lamalot, Esa Einai El Ha'arim, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Ezri Me'im Adonai Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz, Al Yaten Lamot Raglecha, Al Yonum Shomrecha, Yinei Lo Yonum Velo Yishan Shemer Yisrael, Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Tzilcha, Al Yad Yaminecha, Yomam HaShemesh Lo Yakecha, Ve'erech Balayla, Adonai Shmerecha Mikol Ra, Yishmor Nafshecha, Adonai Shmortzecha Uvoecha Me'ata V'ad Olam. A Song for Ascents, Psalm 121. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Adonai, God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your protection, a guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm and guard your life. Adonai guards your going and coming, now and forevermore. Of course, I was introduced as Rabbi Gabe Cohen of Temple Emmanuel, but before that I was just Gabe Cohen of JCC Paramus. And so it's an honor to be back here, and a very sad day, as was said, remembering David Luria. Just want to share one story that I'll never forget from David. In the chapel just down the hallway, I wish I could remember what Parsha it was, I wish I could remember what Shabbat it was, but David was chanting the Haftorah. And he was chanting the Haftorah that was either his brother's Bar Mitzvah Parsha or it was his brother's Yurtzeit. And I'll always remember this image of me standing on the side of the room and David standing at the front chanting the Haftorah, and the tears were just streaming down his cheeks to the point that he couldn't go on, he couldn't continue the Haftorah, and he needed a moment to compose himself, to collect himself, and to regain his composure. And it always stood out to me because I've heard the Haftorahs chanted in my life countless times, and never has it been such a powerful moment where just the words themselves could bring somebody to tears. And in my memory, the whole room was crying with him. And of course, as Rabbi Kirshner said, I'll always have that memory of him asking, literally on his deathbed, how my wife was feeling and how she was doing, as he did every single time I called him. That's the kind of compassionate person he was, always thinking of others no matter what. And so it's a great, great loss that we all feel. May his memory always be for a blessing.
Friends, we'd now like to call forward Rabbi Allison Berlinger of the New City Jewish Center.
Ashrei mi shegadal b'Torah, v'amalo b'Torah, v'oseh nachat ruach liyotzro, v'gadal b'shem tov, v'niftar b'shem tov min ha'olam. Blessed is one who was reared in Torah, who labored in Torah, who pleased our Creator, who lived with a good reputation, and who died with a good name. I can't think of a better quote from the tradition to describe, well, most of you call him David. I call him Pop Pop. He's not my Pop Pop, but in our relationship over the last year and a half, in helping Perry prepare for his upcoming bar mitzvah, and Pop Pop was his teacher. What a blessing to have that in your life forever. And he truly, truly is a man of Torah and a man of good name. May his memory be for a blessing.
Hallelujah, Ashrei Ish Yorei et Adonai b'mitzvah chafetz ma'od. Gibor ba'aretz yezaro dur yeshurim yevorach. On v'osher b'veito v'sidkato omedet la'ad. Derech b'choshech or liyasharim chanun v'rachum v'tzur. Yechalkel b'diver b'mishpat. Ki lo yimot l'zecher olam yet tzaddik. Blessed is the man who reveres the Lord, who greatly delights in all of God's commandments. His descendants will be mighty upon the land, a generation that is upright and blessed. Prosperity and joy are in his home. His righteousness stands firm forever. Even the darkest of night, God's light shines for the just, the gracious, and the merciful. Such a man will remain unshaken and be remembered for his righteousness always. And let us say together, Amen. Friends, we'll be calling upon several members of the family now to honor David Pesach ben Nehemiah. We'd like to begin by calling upon beloved daughter Susan.
Everyone who's in attendance today had their own relationship with my dad or knew how special he was to us. As his daughter, I was very fortunate to have had him as a dad to guide and protect me. I have many fond memories of my childhood, thanks to very special parents. I share my mom's love for animals, and thanks to my dad's tolerance, I was able to have many. My dad was a good sport and made many sacrifices to keep his children happy. He taught us a good work ethic and the importance of volunteerism, which was a very big part of his life for his entire life. He never did anything for recognition, but out of love and caring. He set a fine example and taught Nina and me the importance of charity from a very young age. He was a true blue friend and had many. He and his closest friend Abe had been friends for over 8 decades. To me, he was Dad, but he was also an amazing son, brother, husband, uncle, cousin, friend, and mentor. He touched countless lives. He was a blessing to all who knew him. He didn't even have to know somebody to help them. Unfortunately, my mom had been sick for many years, during which my dad was totally devoted to her. He made many sacrifices for her. Sadly, she died 6 years ago. 2 years ago, he met Debbie, and they formed a beautiful relationship. They made each other very happy. Debbie was by my dad's side throughout his illness. Her companionship and kind and gentle ways meant so much to him. She was a bright light through dark times. I speak not only for myself, but for my family when I say we are so grateful that she came into my dad's lives and our lives. Though I understand that we are all born to die, it's our only guarantee in life. When you really love somebody, they're never old enough or sick enough to die. My dad will always live in my heart, and I will treasure my memories of the good times. While he was on his deathbed, he asked Nina and me not to think about his pain and suffering, but to remember the better, happier times. He was very stoic. I wish I could say the same for myself. Though not an easy feat, I will try my best, and I know that the last thing that he would want is for Nina or me to be sad. My dad knew how to stay young while growing old. He was very fit, both mentally and physically, until the onset of his illness, which was approximately 9 months ago. Though his physical health declined, his mind remained very sharp. I hope that I am fortunate enough to grow old as gracefully as he did, and I wish the same for all of you.
We'd now like to call upon beloved daughter Nina.
I stand here today to honor my beloved dad, David Pesach ben Nehemiah. Thank you for being with us on this very sad day. It is not easy to summarize 92 years well lived in a few minutes, or to find the correct words that will adequately pay tribute to the fine man he was. Although in my mind I knew this day would come, I still remain unprepared for the aching void I feel and for the tremendous loss to our family. To say he was always by my side is an understatement. Right up until Friday morning, we were a team, regardless of the circumstances. I was his buddy. Dad, I'll always be your ninny, and while I will miss you for the rest of my days, I hope to learn to feel you once again by my side. I'd like to share a little bit about my dad. His beginnings in the Bronx were humble and changed drastically at the age of 7 when he lost his own father. His mother had him and his beloved Harold, Zichron L'Bracha, my dad's best friend, to raise on her own 2 rambunctious boys. After getting into quite a bit of trouble, hard to believe, my grandmother appealed to the yeshiva rabbi to say, please take my Davy into the yeshiva, as she feared that without this, he'd get into more trouble. The only issue was my grandmother had no money. They accepted my dad on scholarship, which is something he had never forgotten. He continued to support scholarship funds so other children would have that same opportunity. It is these earliest challenging years that instilled in my father the lifelong lessons that he worked very hard to teach me. It was in yeshiva where my father's love for Judaism emerged and remains a cornerstone of his life until his death. As a young man, my dad served in the army and was stationed in Korea. Before he left, he saw a cute girl in a short red skirt at the roller rink. He couldn't wait to return home to Hilda, of blessed memory. She anxiously awaited his return and soon got married on February 14th, 1954, on my mom's 20th birthday. And so began their 64 years of marriage. Dad was an amazing husband to our mom and father to Susan and to me. As you know, our mom suffered for many years with health issues from a relatively young age. My mother was diagnosed with colon cancer when I was 2. But his love for her was unwavering, and he remained committed to helping her, taking on the duties of mother and father as well as caregiver, all while providing for his family and working 2 to 3 jobs to support us. Those years were not easy in any way. Your amazing work ethic, Dad, and devotion to providing for your family is what led you to the collection business, your calling, and you grew to be a successful businessman, and you grew a business that gave you autonomy that you always craved. While success came your way, it was really the hard work and your perseverance. Dad always taught me lifelong lessons along the way, including how never to take no for an answer, stand up for what you believe in, and to never forget the value of $1. I have to go back for that class. He would always remind me to pay myself first, never have a credit card balance, pay my bills on time because he knew a good collection agency. He taught me how to negotiate and always reminded me when you make that offer, make it low. These are very reasonable values, and he taught us these lessons over and over again. Giving and sharing are the ones that please God will be These are valuable lessons, but the repeated lessons about giving and sharing are the ones that please God will be passed down from generation to generation, Mador Lador. These are the invaluable ones. Dad led by example, and the message was clear. Giving was far better than receiving, and how important it was to be charitable. Along the way, Gary and I were married, and he loved Gary like a son and provided Gary with all the same selfless devotion and nurturing that he gave to me. Gary also treated him like a father. It was always made very clear there was nothing that Gary would not do for my dad, especially over these past 9 months. Gary will always cherish being called his sonny boy. My dad was the glue of this family, and we will make sure to honor his final request of staying close and carrying on the traditions that he instilled in us. His grandchildren, Brad, Sherry, Andrew, and Ariel, were the next crown jewels, and he showered them with the same love that I so relished. All 4 of them have returned that same amount of love, respect, adoration, and admiration that he showed them. Poppy, as they would call him, always made time for them and was committed to never missing anything. And his grandchildren always do the same, especially since this past April. They proved that there was nothing that was too much for them. Poppy never went to an appointment alone. He always had company. Every treatment he was treated with the love and compassion he so deserved and earned. There was a scheduled rotation for hospital visits to make sure there was always coverage and good snacks. My dad was our greatest teacher and support system. He was incredibly reliable and always looking to help anyone, anytime, with anything. He showed interest in whatever you were interested in. From dance performance, fishing, visiting day at camps, graduations, Poppy and Grandma Hilda were there, sometimes in matching shirts and socks, but beaming with pride and happiness. How lucky we have been to have shared so many years, holidays, birthdays, Shabbat dinners, and now 6 great-grandchildren that will live on through him. From his humble beginnings to this, a growing family here to mourn and to continue the legacy that he so beautifully built. Just a few short months ago, my dad was as vital at 92 as he was at 70. He had a full schedule each week, including morning walks, breakfast, lunches, volunteering at various organizations, and special time with Debbie. Volunteering at Schechter became the highlight of his week. He loved seeing the children, speaking with them, davening at their minyan, serving them lunch, and reading stories to them. He was the perfect volunteer, doing any job, big or small, he told me mostly small, that needed to get done. I know the administration, faculty, and students appreciated his presence, and I want the entire Schechter community to realize how much they gave back to him. Another highlight of my dad's last years was the time that he spent with Debbie. Debbie, you brought new hopes and dreams back to his life. It was magical to see the joy and happiness that you shared. Thank you for your unselfish commitment to my dad. Your unwavering, optimistic outlook brought a smile to his face until his last moments, and for that I will be forever grateful. What he especially enjoyed sharing with Debbie were visits to the beach, where the Long Branch community welcomed him warmly with open arms, and his world of friends grew even larger. I'm grateful to all of you for embracing my dad and adding to his joy. So how should we remember my dad? Whether you called him Dad, Poppy D, David, Dave, or Mr. Luria, you came to know a man who deeply respected those around him. From the doctors who helped prolong his days to the person who came to sweep his room in the hospital at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping there. He treated everyone with dignity and concern for their well-being. In the tumult of the last 36 hours, I checked my dad's phone for messages and was overwhelmed by the number of people with whom he regularly connected with. I was deeply moved by a message from a worker at 5-Star who thanked my father for believing in him and inspiring him to turn his life around. This was the man my father was, a person who cared deeply for every single human being who crossed his path, and who could offer advice without sounding condescending, and embrace each and every small victory and success that was shared with him. My dad had an incredible will to live because he cherished life, the people in it, and he did not want to leave us. He knew that he could tolerate what he could tolerate, and he also knew when he was ready to go. On New Year's Day, he decided it was time. He wanted to go home, where he wanted to spend his last days. We fulfilled his wishes and made sure he got home to celebrate the 8th night of Hanukkah with his entire family, singing the prayers, songs aloud, in which he was able to lead. My dad was incredibly quick and sharp up until his final hours. He could still calculate the compounded interest on a 5-year CD, but once we got through Wednesday, we knew the time was nearing, and that in classic David fashion, that he would pass on Shabbat, a true tzaddik. It is often considered a positive sign, signifying that he is a righteous person, which is we all knew, but this confirmed it. As Shabbat day is a day for ultimate rest and holiness, suggesting the deceased has entered a state of peace immediately upon passing, this belief is particularly strong if the death occurs on the eve of Shabbat, allowing the soul to enter the Sabbath right away. There is a Talmudic teaching that says that when a man dies on Shabbat and his descendants continue to follow values of Judaism that he taught them, that even after his passing, the person's life did not end with the passing, but rather it continues to live on in the lives of his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren through the lessons he taught them for all eternity. Dad passed away quietly on Friday evening just after the start of Shabbat. Knowing my dad's belief in our traditions, we knew that we would not be moving him until Shabbat was over. However, our tradition also calls for the continuous guarding of the body between its passing and burial, and that someone is typically assigned to what is known as a shomer, and not carried out by the immediate family, such as the deceased children. Once again, his grandchildren rose to the occasion, dividing that very long Shabbat amongst themselves, who quietly sat with him, reciting Tehillim, Psalms. Several friends came to share that very unique mitzvah: Brad, Andrew, Sherry, and Ariel. I thank you for having witnessed your selfless devotion to Papi. In my heart, I am sure he knew that you were there, already watching from elsewhere and smiling peacefully as you honored Papi with the most respectful, loving, final departure from his worldly days. May his memory live on in you and all of us and always be a blessing. Dad, I love you.
As we now invite forward beloved son-in-law Gary.
Thank everybody for coming today. It's unbelievable to see everybody. He was my pop and I was his son. I was honored to be the son Pop never had. I also looked at him as my dad. He was always interested in what was happening in my life, and family was always number one, and was proud of us, was proud of all of us. He was an amazing businessman and a wealth of information. His selflessness was Herculean. He was always there to help anybody in need, and anyone who was even briefly touched by him, by this great man, went away a better person. I was honored to be on the journey by his side for the last months, taking him wherever he needed to go. He never complained about anything. He didn't complain about the hand that he was dealt. He was always optimistic. If we all would look towards Pop as a role model, this whole world would be a better place to live. I love you, I'll miss you, and may God bless you.
I will now call upon beloved grandson Brad.
Thank you all for coming today. Looking is a true testament and tribute to my grandfather and his legacy. If I had to use one word to describe my grandfather, it would be strength. Strength encapsulates so much of who Papi Dave was as a person. There was his physical strength, starting with the famous Luria handshake. He taught me that the proper way to greet people is with a firm handshake. From a young age, he would always squeeze my hand tightly, and I would squeeze back. We shared our last Luria handshake just a few days ago. It was accompanied by a smile and acknowledgement that that's the Luria handshake. His strength was still there. He still had it. There was also his emotional strength, which felt never-ending and truly amazed me. He faced many challenges throughout his life. He lost his father when he was 7. He had humble beginnings. He took career risks while he had a young family. For much of his marriage, and certainly my lifetime, his amazing wife Hilda suffered from many illnesses. And as he grew older, he experienced many other losses, including his brother Harold, his wife Hilda, and his best friend of over 80 years, Abe, each of whom he loved immensely. My grandfather faced and conquered all of these challenges with immense strength. Despite losing his father, my grandfather was able to become a great father and a great family man. Despite his humble beginnings, he became a fantastic success, thanks in large part to smart careerists and his tireless work ethic. Despite my grandma's illnesses, my grandfather was a terrific source of support for my grandma, and he was incredibly grateful for the life they experienced together. And despite the loss of loved ones, he was able to be grateful for what they shared together during their lives and fondly recall many special memories. As I hope you can tell, it was not just Papi Dave's own emotional strength. He was also a source of tremendous emotional strength and support for others, including for many people in this room, and that includes me too. When I suddenly lost my father, the manner in which my grandfather stepped up to support me was really special and meant so much to me. Papi had many other strengths. To name one, he had a terrific ability to teach important lessons to many of us. I don't have enough time to share them all, but I would like to highlight a few. He definitely made clear to me in my childhood that I should not put my hands on his walls. And for a kid like me, apparently, that was a lot easier said than done. There was also some lesson about not procrastinating, although that one may have been lost on me, but I'll keep trying, Pop. On a more serious note, Papi always taught us that hard work and effort matter most, and he led by example. He was a tireless worker during his career, which resulted in great success. He would explain that hard work prevails over many other qualities. He instilled this belief in me, and I hope that I have instilled it in my children. Papi always shared how important it is to give to charity, and again, he led by example through both donations of his time and money throughout his life. We also know how important Judaism was to Papi, which he helped instill in so many others. And even in his final hours, he mustered the strength to remind us of another lesson, as he told us, stay close as a family. In addition to many life lessons, he left us with incredible gifts this past week, which are yet another symbol of his strength. He had hard decisions to make regarding his health, and he made them without leaving that difficult responsibility to his family. Once he made the decision to start hospice on January 1st, there was a sense of relief that we could all feel in him, which then allowed him to proceed with some final gifts. He got to say his goodbyes, which were meaningful to him and each of the recipients, he repeatedly expressed his love to us. He left no doubt. Many of us got to say our goodbyes to him too, with any final messages, thoughts, gratitude, and love we wanted to share with him. I cannot explain how grateful I am to have taken advantage of that. Then there was the most awesome gift of all, celebrating the 8th night of Hanukkah together in his apartment. His children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and Debbie. We all sang the blessings and songs together, including Poppy, and took what will ultimately be our final pictures together. It felt like a miracle and is something I will never forget. Really, it was the greatest gift he could have given. I hope that we left him with some final gifts too, by supporting him as he was making his difficult decisions, by getting to share our love and feelings about him, with him, by having a final sleepover together with all of his grandchildren supporting, comforting, and loving him, and then by reciting Tehillim after he passed away on Shabbat, which was a true honor. Poppy, thank you. Thank you for the example you have set, your strength, your lessons, and your final gifts. I hope that we made you proud, as you certainly have made all of us proud. May you now be back with all of those who are waiting for you, resting in peace, as many of us will do our best to carry on your legacy here. I will miss you very much. I love you.
As we now will invite forward beloved granddaughter Sherry.
It feels nearly impossible to put my grandpa into words. We were so blessed to have him in our lives for as long as we did. Even though I know all the right things, he lived 92 amazing years, 91 of which he was healthy for. It still feels too soon. Pap was a gem to so many people. He was Pap to many more than just his grandchildren. He was so loved and loved by so many. But for me, I'm the lucky one that got to call him Pop. From a very young age, he played an integral role in my life. He came to everything, big and small, and did it with such pride and joy. One of my childhood memories of Pop was going to his house in Yonkers for our weekly Sunday family dinners. Pop took us on many cruises and showed up for every school event. I always loved our visits to Florida to see him and Graham when they were snowbirds, and visits to the bungalow in the summer. One of the countless fond memories of Pop was most recently when he came to our house about a month and a half ago. It was so hard for him physically, involving a wheelchair, steps, and a lot of help, but he was so determined to come. When he walked in, after much effort and exhaustion, he just hugged me, and we cried together. It was such a beautiful, special moment that I'll never forget. Just this past Wednesday, Pop lit Hanukkah candles with the family. It was such a gift and so beautiful. I was also honored that Pop requested my latkes to eat that night. On Pop's last night, his 4 grandchildren slept by his side. Pop always said he was so lucky, but no, we were the lucky ones. Pop and I spent a lot of time together most recently. This past month and a half were quite challenging, and Pop fought so very hard. I saw him almost every day. Some days we talked, and he still offered me his pearls of wisdom. Sometimes we played cards, and sometimes we just sat together quietly. One day we were talking, and I was thanking him for all he has taught me. With no surprise, I was emotional. and he told me I didn't get my sensitivity from him. Every second, every minute was such a gift. Pop never asked for anything, and he didn't ask us to come visit. We all just did, and we all showed up because of our love for Pop. Nurses and staff commented that they had never seen a patient with so much family support. Little did they know who Pop was and what he meant to each of us. When it comes to Pop-Pops, there are no words to describe his unconditional love and most special relationship with Perry. Perry and Pop had a very special bond. Since Perry was born, he always counted down the years and months to his bar mitzvah. I remember when he said 12 more years until the bar mitzvah. For many months, Pop prepared Perry, teaching the prayers and the Haftorah portion. Pop was planned to have an integral role during Perry's bar mitzvah and so wanted to be there. He just missed it. I know he will be there, just in a different way and not in the way we wanted or planned for. He's taught me so many life lessons. He's taught me the values of family and unconditional love, the meaning of tzedakah, not to be wasteful, especially with paper towels and electricity. Countless pearls of wisdom on how to run a business. He taught me if you don't ask, you'll never know. The meaning of gratitude. He always said, I thank God for making dreams come true that I never dreamt. Pop led by example. I'm forever grateful for Pop. My life will feel empty without him. We will continue to live his legacy and pass down all that he has taught. I love you, Petty.
I'd like to call upon beloved grandson Andrew.
The day I feared for as long as I can remember has finally arrived. The amount of you in the room today is a testament to what an incredible person my Pop was. I thank you all for being here to honor him. Poppy was not only an exceptional grandfather, great-grandfather, father, uncle, and more to his family, but also an extraordinary human being to everyone he encountered. Caring, selfless, thoughtful, intelligent, strong, and respectful. Finding the right words to express my thoughts and emotions is incredibly difficult, so I ask for your patience as I do my best to share some. I've been deeply honored and blessed to be a part of his life and him a huge part of mine. In my younger years, I knew him as the grandfather who hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe, kissed me on the head so firmly that his beard felt like sandpaper, and the person who yelled at me anytime I touched his walls. I think sometimes I did it on purpose just to see if he noticed. He also made us listen to cantorial music in the car, his favorite, ours not so much. As I grew older, our bond strengthened. I discovered my entrepreneurial spirit and realized it was something I inherited from him. I also learned all about giving from him. I followed his lead by giving of my time to those in need. As my businesses grew, I ensured that those less fortunate benefited from their success as well, just as he had taught me to do. He was always a huge part of mine and my sister's lives, attending anything and everything he could. He became my trusted advisor and role model, guiding me through life with wisdom and integrity. Poppy was always there, every step of the way. From a young age, I was given the title Big Buddy, and my sister later became his Little Buddy. Every time I saw him, he would say big, and I would respond, Buddy. He had me performing this trick for a solid 15 years. Family was always his top priority. He welcomed our spouses as if they were his own grandchildren and never missed a birthday or anniversary. A card was always in the mail, arriving on time without fail. He built special relationships with Alyssa, Asher, and Harlow, all of whom will miss him dearly. I remember even after his 90th birthday, him being on the carpet playing with the kids. The memories are endless, and the thought of experiencing future milestones without him is unimaginable. He was always there. After meeting and marrying my grandmother, he unleashed his entrepreneurial drive. He worked tirelessly, often juggling 2 or 3 jobs at a time. He sold toys and other goods door to door and worked in sales for a moving company. Whatever it took to climb the ladder, he did. Eventually, he founded a collection agency, building a prosperous business and acquiring competitors along the way. Pop lived the American dream. His business acumen was unmatched, and his negotiation skills were the best I've ever seen. I remember that for a solid 20 or 30 years, he'd buy a brand new car every year, often the same car in a different color. Why? Because he now could. I remember the stories of how he got dealers to sell him cars at a loss, or how they'd throw something in that seemed worthless to me, but it was free, so it was always a win. He was one person I would say I would never want to sell a car to. Poppy devoted his life to caring for my grandmother. His dedication was the epitome of true love. He sacrificed personal freedoms to ensure her well-being, honoring his commitment to her through thick and thin. The perfect, most devoted husband. He was selfless. Poppy's generosity knew no bounds. He taught me the importance of giving back, whether it was time or resources. Even when funds were tight at a young age, he donated of his time. As his success grew, so did his philanthropy. He was giving even to those he barely knew. The level of respect which he has for others was second to none. Pop was there for people he knew for mere minutes more than most are there for their own families. That's just how he was. He treated everyone with respect. He acknowledged those often overlooked, such as cleaning staff and waiters. He always called them by their names and asked about their families and life events. His memory was truly unreal. I never knew how he knew everything about everyone. Having breakfast with him at 5-Star even just 2 months ago was an experience. Everyone greeted him warmly, and he reciprocated, showing genuine interest in their lives. It was as if I was dining with the mayor. These examples of kindness I strive to emulate. During his final days, he went through his cell phone just to see if there was anyone we needed to get back to. I was mind blown when I saw over 20 unread text messages from the last few days. Many were from people I did not even know or had never heard of. Daniel Rodriguez was one of them. He was somebody who worked at 5-Star who had no idea that my grandfather was passing, but wanted to thank him for all he had done to transform his life and for making such a difference to his family. That's the kind of person he was, touching the lives of those who may otherwise go unnoticed, motivating them and bringing light into their lives. His business acumen profoundly impacted my own career. He was my go-to advisor. Weekly, he would ask me if there were any great sales, or home runs as he called them. We celebrated the great times, and when the times weren't so great, he would remind me how it was all about averages. If I had an issue with employees, contracts, or really anything, he was one of my few go-tos. Poppy would see things from a very unique perspective since he had experienced so much in life. I can't remember a time where he was unable to offer a solution. He was my biggest cheerleader and was always honest with me. Pop was never afraid to challenge me when my ideas became too ambitious. Anyone who knew him knows that he always called a spade a spade. This can be tough when a person straight up tells you that your idea is a bad one, regardless of how much you might think it's a great one. Pop challenged me and forced me to view things from a different vantage point. His guidance helped ensure that I always took the right fork in the road. Judaism was not just his religion, it was his passion. He was deeply devoted to observing traditions and holidays, and I've promised to carry on these practices. Before this past Yom Kippur, he asked me to accompany him to visit graves of family members and friends, something he did annually before the Yom Kippur holiday. Despite using a walker and being on oxygen, he managed to visit about 10 graves, though he usually visited around 40. Even at 92, he honored the past with reverence and devotion. He made me promise, and I promised him, that I would continue this tradition in his honor. He supported Jewish charities with both time and money and volunteered at Salman Schechter into his 90s. The best was being able to give together. We both became involved in United Hatzalah and had the honor of dedicating ambucycles together, one even in Israel. In his final days, we had the opportunity to have some truly meaningful conversations. He was completely with it until the very end. During his last hospitalization about a month ago, I was convinced it was over. I thought to myself, why should I wait until, now, to say all these amazing things about him and thank him for all he did for me until he's no longer here when I could share it all with him while he's still with us. I went to the hospital to speak with him. I ended up laying in his hospital bed with him. He put his arm around me and it was one of the most special times we ever had. I was able to thank him for all he did for me and how he was an incredible role model and how he impacted so many lives, especially mine. Most people would say thanks, or that's so nice of you. But being who he was, what was his response? That it was his honor and privilege and how proud of me he was. He thanked me for always being there for him too, which was of course my pleasure and honor. This man was truly selfless. Even near the end, he was clear about his wishes. He wanted to pass pain-free and at home. He made me promise that I would do everything I could to ensure that happened. If you've ever had someone ask this of you, you know what a tremendous responsibility it is. On New Year's Eve, he had a terrible night. Lots of pain, tons of coughing. I arrived at the Jewish home at 7 a.m. to find him shirtless and completely out of it. The end seemed near. He insisted at that moment on being taken home and beginning hospice. Then the craziest thing happened. He snapped out of it and began calling and texting everyone near and dear to him. Pop knew he was going home and wanted to take care of any unfinished business. It was also the 8th night of Hanukkah, and it was New Year's Day. He chose the hardest day for us to figure out how to make it happen, but we got it done. We discussed what we could do to ensure the maximum level of comfort and mobilized quickly to ensure he was as comfortable as possible. That night, our entire family, great-grandchildren included, all got together at his apartment to light candles for the final night of Hanukkah. This was our Hanukkah miracle. Pop even sang the blessings. The day before, he was barely even conscious. That night, just hours later, the decline began. On Thursday, my cousin Brad and I quickly earned our doctorates in end-of-life care. We ensured Pop stayed comfortable until the very end. Poppy made it clear that he wanted his family to stick together, so clear that he would wake up during his final hours to tell us about it. The way in which he passed brought my cousins and I closer than we've ever been. We all slept by his side during his final night. That night, he asked us numerous times what day it was. We told him that it was Thursday. I was pretty sure that he would pass that night, Thursday into Friday. What happened was remarkable. At 3 a.m., after being pretty out of it for hours, he woke up and spoke to each of us, a moment I will never forget. On Friday morning, Alyssa came to visit, and the smile he had when he saw both of us sitting on his bed was one I will never forget. He was so happy everyone was together with him during these final moments. On Friday, as I was told the decline would begin by the hospice nurse, he coasted. Anytime I thought there was a decline, he would rebound a bit. And then for the first time I realized how Shabbat was approaching and reminded myself how only the best, true tzaddiks, pass on Shabbat. We lit candles at 4:22 p.m. We went back to his room and all sang Shalom Aleichem at his bedside. At 5:28 he passed, pain-free. Pop waited for Shabbat to arrive before letting go. I would say it's a coincidence, but it has to be more. Being Shabbat, we could not have his body moved until the Sabbath ended, which meant we would act as Shomrim, reciting Tehillim next to his body for the next 25 hours. What a special honor this was for all of us who participated. Praying over a body is a true mitzvah. Preparing a body for burial, the tahara, is next level. One of Pop's closest friends. One of his closest friends, Jerry Friedman, is a man unlike any other who I'm so honored to have gotten to know. He came to see Pop right before Shabbat. As soon as Shabbat ended, I notified him of Pop's passing. When he heard we were saying Tehillim, he offered to come right over and wanted to be a part. But like with Poppy, enough is never enough for Jerry. He was able to offer more. Jerry asked if he could be a part of the Chevra Kadisha, the team of people that would cleanse and prepare Pop's body for burial. Who does that? Jerry ensured that Pop's body was treated with the utmost respect, and he himself took part in the cleansing of Pop's body. Jerry, I can never thank you enough. I also want to thank Debbie for making the last 2 years of his life so special. You stood by his side with us until the very end, and for that we are most appreciative. To those gathered here today, I have a few requests. Honor his legacy by paying it forward. Stand up for what you believe. Defend the Jewish people and the state of Israel. Speak up for those who cannot speak. Perform an act of kindness. Help make the world a better place. Recognize those who go unnoticed. Share your knowledge and skills with others. Take risks. Pursue happiness. Never let the possibility of failing stand in your way. Never take no for an answer. The impact of these actions will be greater than you will ever realize, and you will learn what Poppy taught me. The act of giving is far more rewarding than the act of receiving. Pop, you left this world exactly as you wished, peacefully and at home, surrounded by all of us. I love you always, and I promise that your legacy will live on.
Thus we call upon beloved granddaughter Ariel.
I'd like to start by thanking everyone for being here. It's no surprise Papi touched the lives of so many people. That's just who he was. He could form friendships quickly and deeply because all of his life experience, warm and trustworthy demeanor, and his approachable smile. Papi was a tzaddik, a righteous man, a mensch, our king. He would appreciate me including this quote from Proverbs. Ateretz kenim bnei vanim, v'tiferet banim avotam, interpreted as, grandchildren are the jewels in the crown of their grandparents. This verse can be found hanging on the walls in Solomon Schechter of Bergen County, one of Papi's most favorite places. Papi couldn't have lived by this more. He always put family first. After losing his own father at such a young age, he was determined to form close and everlasting relationships with his own family, while working many jobs to provide for all. Papi didn't miss a thing, and there's nothing he wouldn't have done for us. The first jewel in his crown was Brad, the second jewel is Sherry, the third, Andrew, and the last was me, Ariel, Papi's little buddy. I know Papi had a unique relationship with each of us and made each of us feel as if we were his favorite. Usually always proud of all of us. We brought his greats into this world, Sarin, Perry, Hanya, Asher, Harlow, and Hartley. He couldn't get enough of them. Papi accepted my husband Jordan like his own, and I'm forever grateful. They loved each other as if they have known each other forever, like they actually shared blood. I know Herzog will miss having Papi over for dinner and visiting with Hartley just as much as I will. I never had to live a day of my life without Papi until yesterday. I'm so incredibly lucky. Over the course of those 34 years, being the last grandchild had many advantages. The obvious one, saving the best for last. But all jokes aside, while the others were busy with their blossoming social lives, off to college, or starting families, I was always around to do things with Grandma and Pop, which started this tradition of me being the first with things. The first to meet their new dog, Shadow, the first to see their bungalow in Sylvan Lake, the first to see the new car, the first to find out exciting news, and Papi always kept this tradition going, which made me feel so special and remembered. Whenever he'd say, I wanted you to be the first to know, my heart exploded knowing that he thought of his little buddy to share with. When I couldn't remember this quote off the top of my head, I actually thought it read, grandparents are the gems, which I can connect with much more deeply. Papi was our most precious and priceless gem, my most beloved and sacred relationship. He has a special place in my heart and my soul. His unconditional love knew no bounds. Almost everything revolved around Papi. Even choosing to still get married during a global pandemic, it didn't matter that friends couldn't be there. He was there and ready to impress everyone with his beautiful seventh bracha under the chuppah. Not to mention, he needed to see me in my wedding gown that he helped me pick out and gifted to me. It was amongst the first I tried on, but he still schlepped all over New York City with me to find the perfect one. Papi and I were best buds. We communicated every day, unless I was at camp, and he really held up his side of that by writing me daily, no exaggeration, sometimes even twice, and he'd always number them so I would know which to open first. Or he'd be on a cruise and would leave a stack of pre-written letters numbered so their housekeeper could send them to me in order. Who does that? Only Papi, our treasure. Papi was the ultimate dugma, example, walking the walk and talking the talk. Pop taught all of us about acts of kindness, big and small. People may wonder why I always address checkout clerks or waiters by their names, and it's simply because he taught me the importance of acknowledging people and making all people feel special and noticed. Papi was adored by all of the workers at 5 Star because he treated all with dignity and respect. Bikur Cholim, he did it, and if he couldn't visit the hospital, then he would call, daily. He volunteered at the Aphasia Center and helped with tasks at SSDS or read to the kids. It was the highlight of his week. He impacted everyone in that building, young and old. These are just a few of the places he would go. There are countless organizations he also supported. He got the big picture and so deeply understood the importance of tzedakah. It came easy to him because he was so proud and passionate about being Jewish. His love of Judaism, tradition, prayer, and Israel was so deep. Let's not forget he was required to go to yeshiva because of his mischievous behavior in public school. And he turned out loving cantorical music and concerts, reading the Haftorah regularly, and always available to lead Shacharit. Poppy was proud of his heritage, and I'll always feel very connected to him religiously. Holidays will never be the same. He always put others before himself. He was my Grandma Hilda's greatest love and most assertive advocate. He loved her endlessly and doted over her no matter her condition. Poppy did everything for her and dedicated his life to prioritizing her. I'm comforted by knowing we can reunite, probably in matching outfits. One of the best and proudest moments of my life was bringing Hartley into this world to meet Poppy. He loved her like nothing else I've ever seen. His eyes would light up, and he'd have the cutest little grin. He was always eager to feed her, but loved reading to her. Book, specifically, when Hartley was born. Poppy would often bring his fearless sidekick Debbie, his greatest new addition. We're so lucky to inherit her love. She may not be so excited about adopting an entirely new family, though. Hartley will continue to ask to FaceTime Poppy every morning, as we've done since the day she was born. We'll always talk about Poppy in our home and have pictures of him, so she'll always remember her amazing and iconic Poppy. Seitchem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. May your departure be in peace, angels of peace, messengers of the Most High, of the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. On Friday, we lit Shabbat candles, went into Poppy, sang Shalom Aleichem together right before he took his final breaths. It's most comforting to know he departed in peace, at home, surrounded by family, exactly where he wanted to be. He called the shots until the very end. They say a person who dies on Shabbat is considered a tzaddik, a title given to those known for their righteous deeds, and that's Poppy, by definition. Poppy would always say, I thank God for making dreams come true that I never dreamt. And Poppy, you were a dream. His missing presence will forever be felt, and my heart will always be missing a piece. The world will never be the same. I'll miss the kisses on my kepi and the curl twirls, and no one will ever chant, Neshika b'vakasha toda rabah. It will always be an honor and blessing to have been your little buddy. We'll think about you always and love you forever. Thank you for everything, and I mean everything, Poppy. I love you.
My dear friends, I'm going to try to keep my words brief today because I think David would have liked that. But at this moment, in thinking of David, our beloved Papi D, I'm reminded of the words of Pirkei Avot. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Kol ha-mechabed ha-Torah gufo mechubad al habriot. Rabbi Yossi said, whoever honors the Torah is himself honored by others. What does it mean to honor the Torah? One of my favorite commentators on the Mishnah, the Bartanura, explains that there are physical ways to honor the Torah, like taking care of it properly. You all know that. But there are other ways, he says, as well, including observing the mitzvot and performing them eagerly. It means acting in a moral and uplifting manner. It means dedication to the institutions that teach our tradition. Now, Maimonides, in his commentary on the Mishnah, offers a slightly different take. To him, honoring the Torah is demonstrating a joyful spirit while carrying out all of our responsibilities. and especially supporting all those who are responsible for the welfare of the community. Many members of the family have spoken so beautifully and eloquently today about the life that David Pesach ben Nehemiah lived, the things that he stood for, the values he espoused, the people he loved, and the many reasons he was beloved by so many. Here's where I could go on and on. Let me just say, I agree with everything that was cited 100 times over. But I want to say today to you all that he was a man who honored the Torah in the way that the great Mefarshim, the great commentators have explained, and in so many other ways as well. That's why so many are here to honor him today. That's why his life was a blessing, and why his memory will be a blessing as well. David was a leader in the religious life of this synagogue for so many years. He was a vital force in our daily minyan, our Shabbat and holiday services. He not only participated every day, but he led minyanim, he led Shabbat and holiday services. He led services on the high holidays on occasion. And he was regularly called upon to read the Haftarah, which he especially loved to do. What I want you all to know today is that whether it was here in Paramus, or in the Bronx, or in Yonkers, or in Florida, or any other place that David ever called home, the synagogue, Jewish communal institutions, Jewish education, and the welfare of the greater Jewish community, and the state of Israel were always his concern. His leadership and volunteerism and philanthropy to the Solomon Schechter Day School of Bergen County made a big difference. Where he's beloved by the staff, by the leadership, by the students. His leadership and philanthropy to United Hatzalah and countless other local and national organizations will continue to influence and uplift this community and beyond. David Luria made a difference. May the same be said of us when we reach the end of our journey on this earth. David's entire life was devoted to the honor of the Torah, as our rabbis understood that idea, even to his last minutes. You all saw it, you all knew it, and in ways both large and small, you were always inspired by it. That is why he is so honored today. For as Rabbi Yossi taught so long ago, whoever honors the Torah is himself honored by others. Friends, I read something once in which a great rabbi made the following point. The ancient Egyptians buried their dead with all the things a person needs, like clothes and weapons and food. They are preoccupied with death. But Jews believe that in the hour of a man's departure, neither silver nor gold nor precious stones will accompany him. Only his wisdom and good deeds. They will accompany him. But I say to you today, only some of them. Because thankfully, most of them he has left for us. Yehi zichro varuch. May his memory always be a blessing, a source of pride and hope and consolation in all the days that will lie ahead. Let's always remember him lovingly and fondly, and let's say together, Amen. Friends, would you all please rise at this time? I would like to invite forward Cantor Israel Singer from Temple Emmanuel in Closter and Rabbi Avram Kogan, the Jewish Community Center Paramus Congregation Beth Tikva, for the El Male Rachamim prayer.
אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, אמצי מנוחה נכונה, תחר כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, יזהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמה דוד פסח בן נחמיה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן, בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים, אז תראהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of David Luria, David Pesach ben Nehemiah, who has gone to his eternal home. O Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that he performed in the land of the living. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. Let us say, Amen.
At this point, I just want to pause for a moment to honor David's patriotic service to the nation during the fruit of his youth, serving in the United States Army from 1952 to 1954, including an 11 and a half month in country during the Korean conflict. He was not only my friend, but it was my great honor to be here to officiate at the funeral of a fellow veteran. And we honor his patriotic service to the nation today. On behalf of the family, we'd like to make several announcements at this time. Burial service for the late David Luria will take place immediately at the Cedar Park Beth El Cemetery, the Beth El section. We ask all those who are participating in the burial service at the cemetery to please follow the instructions of the funeral directors as well as the Paramus Police Department so we can have an orderly procession to the Cedar Park Beth El Cemetery. For those who are familiar with the area, there are also, in addition to the procession, there are also pages outside, papers outside that have the address of the cemetery as well. Family will be receiving visitors and observing Shiva from the conclusion of the burial service till Friday afternoon at approximately 1 to 2 p.m. at the home of Ariel and Jordan Herzog at 430 Ivy Avenue in Haworth, New Jersey. Again, that's 430 Ivy Avenue in Haworth, New Jersey. The family will be sitting Shiva today following the burial service until 5 p.m. and then again from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and again at 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Again, family asks for no visits between 5 and 6:30 p.m. during the week. And each night there will be a Shiva Minyan from Sunday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Again, not at the regular 8 p.m. Paramus time, but at 7 p.m. at the Shiva house. And for more information regarding the observance of Shiva at the Shiva home, you may call the synagogue throughout the week, and we'll get that to you. In lieu of flowers and gifts, the family asks that those who might wish to make a memorial contribution to honor the life and legacy of the late David Luria, please consider a donation to the Solomon Schechter Day School of Bergen County or United Hatzalah. And you may call the synagogue during the week for more information about how to better get in touch with those important organizations if you need any help. Friends, I want to take this opportunity to send profound condolences to Nina and Gary, and to Susan, and recall the loving memory of the late Neil, may he rest in peace. To beloved grandchildren, Ariel and Jordan, Andrew and Alyssa, Brad and Andrea, and Sherry and Harris. To the family, to beloved great-grandchildren, Sarin, Hanya, Perry, Asher, Harlow, and Hartley. I want to send our tanchumim, our condolences, to David's loving friend and companion, Debbie, and her family, and her children, Dory, and her husband, Stuart, Karen, and Jim. To the members of the extended family, friends, neighbors, and community, and to all who are remembering, mourning, and honoring Davi Pesach ben Nehemiah today. To you all, we extend to the words of comfort of our Jewish tradition. Amakom menachem etchem, b'toch sha'ar avalei Tzion b'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you among all the mourners for Zion and Jerusalem. And let us say together, Amen. Friends, at this point, we're going to call forward the grandchildren and Dr. Jerry Friedman once again to serve as pallbearers. Please remain standing as we escort the casket from the sanctuary at this time.
And what?